Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa. And as you can probably tell, I don't know when last we had a winter that felt this cold because, man, oh man, grandma here is getting chilled to the bone. But anyway, we are here, and I'm very happy and grateful to have Dr. Dennis Carroll again with me in the back room waiting. And of course, he's our resident expert on cryptids and anything dodgy. Dr. Dennis knows everything about that. So we look forward to chatting to him just now about the rise of the vampire. And I think vampires come in more shape than just the sucky ones, right? We have the energy vampires. We have all sorts of craziness surfacing now. So look forward to hearing what tonight will be about, or this morning for you. So welcome. And then, of course, yay, a new member. Thank you so much, Heidi Duncan Kurtzinger. I think I've said that right. Really, really, really appreciate your membership. Welcome to the Arrow Tribe. So, guys, hit that join button, become a member of the Arrow Tribe. We do live Q&As, we do live book clubs, and of course, you are welcome to join that. So, join the Arrow Tribe membership. And yeah, Dr. Dennis. Well, I still have not received my books from Dr. Dennis the minute I get them, but I know that coming to South Africa can sometimes take up to 3 months. So let's hope it doesn't take that long. It's been about a month. Okay, so our announcements for tomorrow at 12 o'clock Central Africa time on Rumble and X. I'm on with the lovely Joanne Breeze of Australia, who's in the chat, one of the wenches with wrenches. We are doing the commentary on I never get the entire title right, but the greatest untold story in history of Adolf Hitler. I do believe it's that, but we're doing a commentary on that. Super, super, super interesting. So please join us for that. I mean, these are things, in my opinion, we need to be talking about. We've been lied to about everything. So what makes us think that that story is so accurate? Food for thought, indeed. And then, yes, on the weekend, check the Arrow schedule, because what we're starting to do on Sundays, calling it Sunday Loop, okay, we're going to be starting to play reruns of our older shows. So firstly, all the shows that, for example, JC did on Solutions with Shanti, and all the other people over the years, when this channel was down, or just shows we did on there, we're going to be doing marathons on a Sunday, so reruns on a Sunday of our older shows. And we're going to be premiering them again, and I'll be in the chats there with you guys, so join us. I think that should be fun. It's like watching old movies, right? And we kind of see how far we've gotten along the way. So please join us for that. And anyway, lots of new things in store, so watch the space. I'll be dropping little bombs, nice little bombs, very nice little bombs as we go along. Anyway, without any further ado, ta-da. Dr. Dennis, we missed you last week. I'm so happy you're back. How are you?
Well, I'm glad to be back. Definitely, thank you. And it's always a pleasure to be here, of course, and to connect with everyone out there. That's one of my favorite things to do, and that's the one thing I like about podcasts. It's like old friends sitting around the table drinking coffee and talking, and that's always a good thing. Nothing wrong with that, absolutely.
So
But we've got a very dark subject today we're going to be talking about, and so we need to kind of gird ourselves and get ready for it. It's going to be very interesting ride, I think.
The rise of the vampire. Are we talking little bloodsuckers, or are we talking energy suckers as well?
Well, there are that, and we will get into the energy vampires a little bit, but we're going to talk about actual vampires today. Do you remember an old country music song many years ago that was not called "Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places"?
Yeah.
Well, the modern day vampire is looking for immortality in all the wrong places. So definitely we got a connection with that going on. And you've heard me mention this before, Chantelle, that this is called the God game with me. That's what I've named it. They're like trying to become gods, and they're using whatever method is available to do that. And some of them are very dark, very bad and evil methods. Definitely.
I mean, in my opinion, anything that drinks another, person's blood, let's just talk on a physical level here, is a vampire. So in the movies, if we look at the horror movies and stuff, and I'm always very grateful because my parents never allowed us to watch horror movies when we were kids. I'm very happy about that because it was just never something I watched. But the few that I did watch, or the comics that I did read, the vampires was always like with their teeth that come out at full moon or something, or at a certain time, and then they suck the person's blood, and then that person becomes a vampire. That's what I remember about vampires, but I truly remember that I just remember that being in the movies. And
Well, that is interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because that's a very interesting point on this. If a vampire goes out, and I want everybody to listen to this close now. If a vampire is going out to suck your blood and drain you completely and kill you or turn you into another vampire, he definitely would bite you in the neck along the carotid artery there. Okay. That's where he'd be heading for that. And that main artery there. And that would completely drain you. But let me tell you this. I have actually seen this with my own eyes. Somebody that bled out on a sidewalk. And I want to tell you something strange about that. Even bleeding out, you still probably keep about 60% of your blood. Did you know that? Your blood never empties completely out of your body. I don't care how bad the gunshot wound or how bad the cut is, whatever the situation, there's always blood remaining in the human body unless you have encountered a vampire who has completely drained you of it. There won't be a speck of blood left. And that is what I have actually run. We had one case, listen to this, back years ago where this man was found deceased in a house. He had absolutely not a single drop of blood on him. I heard the coroner talk about this, and I wanted to ask the coroner, but I couldn't do it because I would probably have gotten laughed off the force, okay? But I wanted to ask him, did you find any holes in his neck? Did you find some holes in him somewhere that this could have been drained out of? And he thought it was very interesting because he knew the same thing I knew. You'd never lose all of the blood in the human body, no matter what the trauma. I don't care, even if your head's cut off or whatever the situation is, blood still remains in the body. It has to be completely drained out in a certain way. And the one way the vampire would drain you, he would take all of your blood completely out. But usually the vampire, if he goes in just to have a quick snack or just a little small bite, he will do that on the wrist or on the upper arm, or he can do it on the thigh. Okay. Certain places where the larger arteries are. And he can do that without draining you completely. Okay. But that would be a prime place. And another prime place to drain you completely would be under one of your breasts. That's where he would go for that as well, because there are larger arteries that feed into that area as well. So you got to understand your physiology when it comes to the vampire and what he can do and what he cannot do in certain instances. But let me say this about the vampire and blood, Shanty, and we got to always remember this. Okay, and I found this out my own personal self here just recently. Iron, there is a iron love and hate relationship with these things. They don't like iron, but yet they're drawn to it, like it's a narcotic for them to a certain extent. And there you have a lot of iron in your blood. Your red blood cells have iron in them. Iron is very, very important. That's why they tell women to take more iron, because they need it supposedly more than men do. Iron
Yeah,
is very
sure.
important to your blood system. It won't work right without that iron in your blood, because that iron takes out lots of impurities and helps the blood do its work. Without that iron, you get in big trouble. Okay, you have an iron deficiency, your bones can get brittle. It can affect you in many different ways in your body. So iron truly is life in the blood. Okay, that's where that term comes
Yes.
from. Blood is life, and that is exactly why your blood is so very important for your body. And I can see of all the things in the human body, that would definitely be what would attract a vampire. Absolutely, he could acquire a lot of stuff out of it. And like I said, for them, it can be narcotic. But now you've got these vampire societies, and we've talked about them before, and we're not talking about that today, but they know each other. Like if you and I were in that society and we knew each other, or we were dating, or we had a relationship, we would take blood from each other because we could trust our own blood. It's better to do that than a stranger that you don't know about, who might have some kind of very bad blood-borne disease or pathogens in their blood. But if you and I know each other, we could safely transfer blood between each other, okay? That's what these vampire societies do. That's why they get societies and come together, so that they can feed off of each other in this really strange way, but that's what they do. And that's why they love and embrace this vampire lifestyle. But we're not talking about them today. Today, we are talking about the real, full-blown, supernatural vampire. And we've talked about this before. You remember when we talked about the banquet of blood with the vampires, and how all these certain people can acquire the vampire traits. You go through certain dark ceremonial things. This is like, say, if you and I were get together one day at a coffee shop, and I bring my briefcase and I say, Shanty, I've got it in my briefcase here. I've got some papers that will show you how to become a vampire. You can become a vampire. It tells you exactly how to do it, and the things you need to do to become a vampire. I could give you this information. I could do it right now. I could give you this information to do it, and I would say, now, Chantelle, you can be a vampire, and you can live forever. You'll never die.
But Dennis,
okay?
But Dennis, apparently someone thinks I look like a Khazar Satanist. What is that? What is a Khazar Satanist and what is a vampire? I mean, whatever I'm being accused of there, can you tell me, can you please enlighten us and the audience what the Coronation Street mangler is referring to? What is a Khazar Satanist? Would you enlighten us?
Yeah, well, the Khazar Satanist, is interesting too. We might do a show on that sometime. It's very interesting stuff. But the Satanist, the satanic part of all of this is, it is, like I said, weirdly connected. The satanic cults covens are connected. The witch covens are connected. The werewolf covens are connected. The vampire covens are connected. There are different types of covens out there. And I'll tell you what a coven is. Basically, if you want to brass tacks on that, okay, they are social clubs. Okay, that's what they are. And they get together just like if you were to form a book club or a knitting club, because everybody in the club, they've got the same interests. Okay, that's the way covens go. Although their interests are not about knitting and reading books. Although, yes, they do read some bad books. But anyway, they get together to do spells. They get together to transmute their bodies into certain things. They get together for dark and very evil purposes. That's what these cults and covens are doing. And but they're all connected because, and although they do fight sometimes, they get into little wars once in a while with each other. They don't get along sometimes, and they have territories just like gangs do. Okay, you don't go in my territory, I don't go in your territory, and we've got an uneasy alliance thing going on here. But if you violate that, then you could have some bad trouble. You can have some bad news come to town, and the cults would begin fighting. The covens would have wars. We call them coven wars. Actually, they can do that once in a while, and even Aleister Crowley was involved in one time. So it's interesting, you know, how these things work out, how they territories overlap each other and all that. They have to be very careful how they go about that. But here's the interesting thing. The interesting thing, they're all getting together because they got the same interests, okay? And they got the same goals in mind, the same thing. They want to work the spells that they want, or they want, but some of them want this immortality. Just like I just offered to you. I said, if you want to become a vampire, you can take this and you will live forever. Now, that doesn't mean someone can't unalive you. Okay, that doesn't mean someone can't do something to you and wipe you out. But if you are smart and know how to survive, you could live almost forever like this. But there is a price, and a hard, very bad price to do this. The price is your humanity and your soul. Let me tell you something. If you became a vampire tomorrow, Shandy, okay, as time goes on, you lose more and more of your humanity. You become more like the vampire that you are. You might be able to hide that for a while. Like, you know, we believe certain celebrities are that way. We're going to talk a little bit about them in a few minutes. But they are supposed to be hiding some of this. Now, you've got to remember, the one premier power of the vampire is his illusional glamour. He can get you to see him the way he wants you to see him. And they have this loss of humanity that way, okay? If I were a vampire and I came to see you, and I would not look really good, okay? I would look deathly. I would look pale. I would have dark circles on my eyes. I probably would have very bad breath, by the way. That's another side of vampires. They have terrible breath and body odor too sometimes, because they are slowly deteriorating. Very slowly, though. And they have stepped over from life into death. They are walking dead people in a certain way. That's what you got to look at them this way. And that's why I say they, little bit by little bit, day after day, hour after hour, they lose a little bit more of their humanity. And when you no longer have your humanity, you no longer have a soul. Okay, I mean, that's the way that goes. They're both connected. And so this is the price you pay to become a vampire. All right. But there's some people willing to pay that price. But I can get you to see me more attractive than that if I use the illusional glamour on you. It's like putting a spell on you. I'm mesmerizing you and getting you to see exactly what I want you to see, not what's really there. And that's how the vampire power works on people. They love that idea. And guess what? I could be a vampire talking to you, and I could even put suggestions in your mind. That's what the power of mesmerism does. It can almost like brainwash you. It can put suggestions in your mind. It's like with telepathy or something, along psychic levels that are astounding. That's the way it works. They love this kind of power. Just like we talked about the last time on the show about witches, wanting to fly. That's one of their powers that they love. Vampires, on the other hand, have shape-shifting abilities too. They can turn into bats. They can turn into wolves. They can turn into a mist and come up under your door or through your window. They can do a lot of different things. They are acquiring listen to what I'm about to tell everybody. They are acquiring some of the highest satanic powers that a person can get. This is what makes them so doubly downright dangerous, because they have this type of power over us and use us like cattle. They use us for bad purposes, and we're nothing more to them than the next meal coming down the line.
Dennis, my question to you around this is, I mean, if you're looking at these guys who are ruling the world, the 1%, call it, right? If you're looking at the 1% that are currently ruling the world, they are vampires. They're not only cannibals, they're vampires. I mean, so in order to obviously do the type of evil that they do, they have got to be using all sorts of disgusting powers, right? Manipulation, suggestion, mind suggestion, illusion, magic, binding spells, whatever the hell it is that they do, right? So they're already doing that. We know that just from the top echelon. So, but that somehow obviously has filtered down as well. It's not, it hasn't just stayed in the upper ranks of usurping power for specific nefarious means. It's now kind of definitely become almost like, I think, mainstream for some of the, I want to say cult groups, but are they always cult? I mean, if you just see a lot of the youngsters today delving in this dark stuff, is it necessarily cult?
Well, absolutely, and I agree with you. They do rule, but they rule their own little worlds. Okay, they're not taking over our world yet. They could probably do that if they wanted to, and maybe deep into our world further than we truly realize. Like some of the actors that we know about, maybe vampires. Some of the pop stars on the stages, some of the musicians, some of the athletes. They can hide it very well, but they do have limitations. Okay, but they are ruling their own little worlds, just like these cults and covens are doing that. And yes, they are bringing in new blood all the time. Okay, let me tell you something that I have discovered in my research. The covens of true vampires, the supernatural type vampires, are actually feeding off of these vampire cults. Okay, they are actually using that as sort of their own little corral of cattle. A lot of times, not all the time, but they're using these kids are coming in with the goth kids wanting to be, the vampire lifestyle. And like I mentioned earlier, if you and I were in a cult like that, we'd be trading each other's blood. But real vampires know about this too and use these cults, okay? These societies, these vampire societies, they're using them because, hey, these kids are already attracted to the vampire lifestyle. Let me put it to you this way. If I knew a bunch of kids were getting together in a vampire society and I'm a real vampire, that's the perfect place for me to circulate. I would get in there and be friends with them and be a mentor to them and pick out the ones I want to get a little blood from every now and then. And that's what the real vampires are doing with these societies, okay? The poor kids don't realize they're already cattle, okay? They're blood cattle, all right? That's the way that works. And so that's safer for the vampire than going out on the street and getting it, because that might expose him to being caught. But some do that. And these are called the rogue vampires. And the covens of vampires don't like the rogue vampires. They're lone wolves, okay? And they can get the coven in trouble. They have to be very careful. Don't you understand? The vampire, his number one weakness is he must guard his secrecy above all things. He can't give himself away and let you know that he's a vampire. That's what the glamour is all about. That's what a lot of this mesmerism is being played on you, so that he can hide his secret. He cannot operate without secrecy and in the shadows and the dark, especially in the dark of night. He can't do that. But look at these vampire societies. Oh, that's perfect for them. They can fit right in, and these poor kids don't even know that they're actually associating with real vampires, supernatural vampires. Okay. And a lot of energy vampires are drawn to these societies too. They can connect with these kids and get all the energy out of them they want. Okay. They are actually opening themselves up, these poor kids, not really truly realizing what's really going on. And they are opening themselves up badly to this, Shanty. And here's one more thing we got to talk about. Okay. A lot of these kids that are that are being trafficked are being bought by some of these guys. Okay. If I were a vampire with some well off means, and most vampires are rather wealthy. Okay. You don't hardly ever see poor vampires. Okay. Because they know how to play things. I can walk. If I were a vampire, I
Right.
could walk in a bank and get a $50,000 loan so easy it wouldn't be funny. Okay, I could mesmerize you into giving me that. There wouldn't even be no problem with that. And so most of these vampires are very independently wealthy. Okay, they really are. They know how to play the world and the game of the world. Okay, they know how to play it well. That's how they survive. But a lot of these children are being bought by them. If I wanted to buy my own blood cattle, I can do that too. I don't have to go to the vampire societies unless I want a little something, different every once in a while. I can buy my children to use and keep them and feed off of them. Just like we've heard of the stories of the vampires of New Orleans that have done this. They broke into the houses and found the bodies of people that were some of them are still alive, that the vampires were using. This is the smart way. You have your own stock, and you don't have to worry about going out on the street and maybe getting caught at doing something like that. That's the stupid way to be a vampire. That you don't want to do that. You want to play it smart. And these guys are smart. They're smarter than smart.
Yeah.
They're smarter than we are, unfortunately. I do believe so. Yeah.
I think they're very, very smart, definitely. I think also, I remember Jesse, in some of Jesse's shows earlier, few months back already, we were talking about this. In fact, along the way, we've been talking about this. And she was speaking like a lot of we were saying, people like Johnny Depp, she mentioned. Nicolas Cage, I think, was another, etc. A couple of these celebrities who are part of the vampires. And what she was saying is that they'll get these, like the young girls, definitely. They get these groupies and they willingly actually donate their blood to these rock stars and whatever they are. And also, of course, they love the blood banks. So the blood banks is a great place that they like to frequent as well.
Absolutely. That's what they use the groupies for. A lot of these rock stars, they use the groupies that way. And they use them for not just sex, but for blood too. Some of them are definitely vampires and into that. And of course, look at the fans of Hollywood stars. Some of them would gladly donate a little blood to these people. Okay, that's just the way some people are about these things. When they idolize someone, they give them their love and attention, and maybe even their blood if they ask for it. Okay, but let me say this: we gotta always remember this. What runs this world, Shanty? Money. Big money. They runs everything. And if you've got enough money, my friend, you can buy anything. And that includes people. You can buy people. Okay. They are on auction blocks. You remember I've talked about this in other shows we've done. Slavery has never died. It's worse now than it has ever been before. And a lot of these poor children and people that disappear are going into these places. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Not all, but some of them definitely. That's where their fate is. And they are being bought by people who maybe want to eat them. Some people may want to suck their blood. Some people use them for sex. Whatever they're at, they've got the money. They can buy whatever they want.
Absolutely. Wow. It's amazing. I mean, I sit here and I listen to you, and it makes a lot of sense to me because it's so ingrained, Dennis, into our society. It's like become part of that vein already, right? Vein, I think, being the operative word, where this is becoming normal. You know, you talk about blood tapping or whatever. I can't remember what the word was. But if you look in Kenya, for example, and I think in a lot of African countries, when they don't have food or when it's dry, they literally take a cow, will stab it in its neck, and tap
I've
its
seen them
blood
do it. Yeah.
and drink the blood. So it's not because they're obviously trying to vampire the cow, but it's because there really is no food. And that right now is a source of food.
I think that's the Maasai, if I'm not mistaken, the Maasai tribe. They will take the blood from the cattle and mix it in milk and drink it. Okay. I've seen them do that. It's amazing. And there are other tribes that do these things as well. And we do know there are tribes of cannibals that have been in Africa. They've been all over the world. There are still some in Borneo, by the way, but they supposedly has got them down to a calm point where I think they can handle them. But that is part of it, definitely. And, you know, here's what, you know, why we're calling this show today, The Rise of the Vampire. And you hit it another nail on the head just then. It is becoming more prevalent and more accepted than we have ever seen before. And you see this happening. Absolutely. Yeah, if you're a rock star or you're a big movie star and you want to live forever, like we said just, you know, at the beginning of the show, if you want to, you know, you want you continue with the free sex and the money and all this other stuff, the power and the glory that comes with it, you don't want to die and leave it one day. You'll do anything to keep from that happening because you want immortality and you don't care how you get it. Okay, that's just the way it works. And that's what these things are all about. Let me tell you a quick story about Christopher Walken. You know, a lot of us think Christopher Walken is a vampire, okay? And Christopher Walken was supposed to be scheduled. I think the guy's getting close to about 80 years old, okay? He's getting very old. And he was scheduled to show up at a TV studio or something. It's going to be on a show or something. And the people in that studio, the makeup woman kept going on and bragging, he doesn't look like he needs makeup, you know? Look how old he is and how good he looks, you know? She says, you know, he doesn't, you know, have any bags under the eyes, you know? And that's when somebody said, yeah, that's because he's a vampire. He's not getting older, you know. But is he just using the glamour on him? Because you got to wonder about that, you know. But and there have been other movie stars that have commented. I think it may have been Mel Gibson or something like that. They said something about Christopher Walken was a vampire. Okay, but anyway, if you wanted and you have the money and you really wanted to and you want to join one of these vampire covens, you could sell out and actually become a vampire and obtain immortality that way. How many people, just like I made that offer to you, how many people would turn that down? Think about it. If somebody come up to you and say, I can give you immortality, you don't have to die. But look, you're the living dead. You do die. You're the living dead. But they don't tell you this part about it, okay? Yeah, that's the part they kind of leave out. It's kind of like the devil with the small print on his contract, okay? He doesn't want you to read that. But this is the price you pay. You give up your life, your soul, your humanity for this immortality. And that's the terrible price of darkness that you pay. And it's not just that price of hurting other people and using them the bad way for evil purposes. That's part of it too. But some of them don't consider that either. Okay. And we do know how the morals of our world are going, definitely in that direction. People no longer have feelings for anybody else. They no longer have empathize with people. Most people, it's getting that way. Okay. The Bible mentioned that many years ago. Jesus said that the world will come to that as it was in the days of Noah. So shall it be in the coming of the Son of God. People will, the love of many will wax cold. They won't care about anybody else, exactly only what they want. They will become supreme narcissists, okay? They won't think about or care about anything else because they are absolutely 110% in love with themselves and nothing else. And that's what the vampire is. Perfect description of the vampire.
But would that not be also these people, if you can call them that, who consume adrenochrome? Because that's being a vampire, really. It's drinking the blood and the adrenaline of the child when it's at its most heightened state of fear or pain. And that really is, according to what we've been told the last few years, that's come to the surface, is that this is, it's...
We got to remember, and I like that question there. I'm going to answer that. Definitely. Here's what's going on with the vampire. The vampire is on a different level of existence than we are. You and I are living people, Shanty. We're still alive, okay? We're still kicking. The vampire, on the other hand, is on a different level than we are. And they don't sleep like we do. Okay, they sleep all day. Of course, they don't like to come out in the sun that much, but there are many day walkers. They can walk in the daytime. I met one time walking in the daytime, okay? And I asked her that question. And she said, we can do it. We don't like to do it, but we can do it on dark, cloudy days when there's not enough sun to bother us. But our main power is at night because they are creatures of the night. Okay, that's what they are, basically, children of the night. And they don't operate on the same level that we are. Okay, they're not operating on the same level because they're not human, 100% human anymore, like you and I are. Okay, and they have. Let me put it this way: we are vibrating on a higher level. They're on a lower level frequency. Okay, that's where they're coming from spiritually. All right, and here's the thing about it. They like, here's the reason is, they like our blood because it raises their level a little bit more. When they get hyped up on that blood and they get that, especially when it's got a lot of adrenaline and fear in it, it's like a narcotic for them. It raises their vibration for a little while and they feel like almost human again. But that doesn't last long. But they do have emotions, yes, and all that, definitely. But they're not lifeless. But there are certain indicators when you are in the presence of a vampire. You will know it if you really know what to look for, and if they're not putting the glamour too much on you. See, that's the dangerous part. You know, a lot of people ask me over the years, how many signs? What's the signs? I want to know if I'm talking to a vampire. But they can fool you so well into believing what they want you to see. So you won't see those signs. That's what makes them so dangerous. Oh yeah, they envy humans because we have something. We have something they don't have. We have humanity, and they're losing theirs little bit by little bit, day after day, hour after hour. They're losing their humanity. I think that's one of the reasons why they like to feed off of this so much. It makes them feel human for a while.
Well, I think they have to feed off us. It's not, I think they not only do they like it, but they have to, because having lost their essence, right, their soul, blood is the essence of life. So in order for them to be able to sustain their own life and like get charged up like a battery, right, and then go and do their day's work, they get all at night, or in the day, who knows, whenever they're wandering around. And then they've got to stock up. That's like they've got to refuel. So that's why, in my opinion, they would constantly need human blood. They obviously like it, and it sustains them. It's what enables them to get from A to B. Otherwise, they'd be lying there like zombies on their beds the whole day. Yeah,
that's true. And you know, the energy vampires are the same way. You know, we have a vampire being here in South Carolina where I live called the boo hag. And the boo hag, when she feeds on you, she sits on your chest and sucks your blood out, your breath out of your body. She doesn't touch your blood. She sucks the breath, your life essence out of you. And every breath you take is shorter and shorter and shorter until she unalives you and takes your breath completely away and you don't live anymore. And then the boo hag will steal your skin. And next day can show up at your neighbors looking like you, but it's not really you. It's the boo hag, okay? But this is the way the boo hag unalives you. It doesn't touch your blood. It draws your breath from your body until you have no longer any breath left. The very life essence of you is fed upon by this being. And there are other vampires that are like that, and they can touch you. They don't have to get on your chest. They can touch you and drain energy off of you. Or if they want to, they can give you bad energy, negative energy. So it works both ways, and that's why I warn people, be very careful who you let inside your little spiritual barrier, your little space there. Be very careful who you shake hands with or hug you or hugs your shoulder or whatever. Some people, when they touch you, can either give you bad energy or take your energy from you. These are vampires, definitely. They're just of a different variety, that's all. But they feed in just a different way. But it still works on them just like blood works on the supernatural vampires. But there are a lot of energy vampires who are actual living human beings. They're not dead people. They're not dead, but they are still operating on that lower spiritual frequency, that vibration. And let me tell you something. The higher your vibration is, my friend, listen to this very closely. This is how you protect yourself from vampires and all these other kind of bad entities out there. They're operating on a lower frequency. If you raise your level of frequency higher, and you do that with love in you and goodness and light and positive things in your life, the more you raise that level at higher frequency, that vibration that you're looking for. These guys are operating on a lower vibration. They can't see you or can't really touch you on that high. The higher your vibration is, the more it protects you. Like a shield against these lower vibrational beings.
It's the only thing that protects you. If I think about that, I mean, it really is the only thing. You can, it really is. Because, I mean, these guys have also, if you think about it, they've obviously been trained in a lot of magic, dark magic. It's not only that they drink blood to sustain themselves, they generally have a lot of training, right? They've had to do a lot of things, and they've had to do a lot of nasty things to get to that point where they've actually half human, half animal or creature now, and that they really can't come back from that, right? They can't come back, right? It's like a virus type thing that you get. And once you're gone, once you've crossed a certain threshold, there's no returning. You kind of hit a point of no return.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You got to open the door to these things, definitely. And I like that question down there. Do they merge, stitch together bloodlines? That's what the covens are for. That's what the covens do. They learn from each other. It's like a weird kind of marriage or church congregation thing going on. They learn from each other. They fellowship. They become intertwined. Sometimes they marry. Yeah, they do. They have relationships, only kind of weird relationships. It's not a positive, happy kind of relationship thing going on. They don't actually, I don't think, have children, but they can merge their bloodlines. They can, feed off the same people and all that stuff. It's very complicated. I won't get into it. You could write a book on this stuff, okay? But the interesting thing is, you got to remember, these people are vibrating on a lower frequency. That's what the darkness does to you. When it sucks you in, it takes your humanity. We humans are born and made to vibrate on a higher level, okay? That's what we need to do. We need to always seek to do that. And you do it with love and light and goodness and positive things and the Spirit of God in you. You're going to vibrate higher, okay? That's just the way, and that's what humans were made to do. But when you take that humanity away, you take that frequency away. You take that vibration away, okay, that's needed to be there. It lowers it to a definite bad level. And that is why they are almost, you got to remember the other biggest weakness of the vampire amongst all of his other, he has a lot of weaknesses, okay? But his major weakness is his love for us. He wants us above all other things. He wants to be like us again, and he can't, but he can feed off of us for a while, and it gives him that a little while, but it never lasts. It's like a terrible addiction. He keeps coming back to us. He is addicted to us. He needs us, whether he wants it or not, whether he hates it. And he does probably hate it very much, just like an alcoholic hates alcohol, but he's still got to have it. That's what addiction is all about. And they are addicted to us.
The blood. It's the source. They can't actually, it's almost like that's all they have that keeps them alive, though. So I almost think it's more than an addiction. They actually can't survive without human blood, because it makes sense to me what you're saying, right? That they have to. They have to have it. Otherwise, they lay there becoming zombies. I would imagine they just lay there becoming like Frankenstein.
Yeah. And that is a bad thing, just like Elizabeth Bathory. She was, addicted to blood. She wanted to bathe in it. She thought it made her younger. She was probably drinking it too, okay? If you're bathing in it, you're probably gonna take a sip every now and then, definitely. I guarantee that. And when they actually captured her, and I mean, she unalived a lot of her maids. She went through maids like most people would go through bathroom tissue, okay? There was no problem with her. And she was bathing in their blood and all that stuff. But when they captured her, they locked her away. And here was her punishment. They couldn't kill her because she was a noble woman, okay? You just didn't do that back in the day. The nobles were far above you. You didn't kill them, okay? That would have, put the world on edge. So they locked her in a cell. And here's what they told her. Your punishment until the day you die. We put mirrors in this room, and you will watch yourself get old until you die. That was the worst thing it could have done to her, okay? It would have been much better to cut her head off, and it would have been over with. And they say that was her punishment. And I think she was locked in that room for 20 years with those mirrors, watching herself slowly get old, and she couldn't do a thing about it, okay? And that was very bad for her, but that was her addiction. Don't you understand? That was what she was addicted to. And let me tell you one thing, the terrible thing about addiction. I was addicted once to smoking, okay? And I know what I'm talking about here. The terrible thing about addiction, okay, it not only addicts you physically, you can get over that pretty quickly. It addicts you in your soul. It addicts to your soul. It addicts your spirit, folks. That's the terrible thing about it. It gets you spiritually. No more than it does get you, and that's the thing that's going on with the vampire. He has a dark spirit. He is spiritually addicted to humanity, although he's lost it completely. That's the bad thing about it. He still wants that, but he can never have it. He'll never, ever sedate his hunger for this. He can never fulfill that terrible thirst that he has.
It's endless because, if we look at what they've done, Dennis, they've absolutely inverted God's natural laws or energy, if you will. So where through God we receive eternal life, but it's a spiritual life, right? So they've chosen to reverse that, invert that, and choose actually death, because everything that they survive on is dead. I mean, in order to drink something's blood, you've got to have either killed it or be a tick, not necessarily kill it, but like be a tick on a dog. And it's just, look at a tick. It can't live without the blood of an animal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I think you've got to be on a cat or a dog or it's a same thing. It's like a vampire is a human parasite, really, at the end of the day, leeching off your knowledge, your life force, whatever it is.
Here's something I think that they're failing at, okay? And you hit another good nail on the head there. You're doing good today. You're doing real good there. Let me say this. Something we never need to lose sight of. What did I say at the beginning of this program? They're looking for immortality in all the wrong places. Did you know your Creator has already given you that immortality? You'll find it when you get beyond life that you live now. You're going to find that immortality waiting for you. He has made us immortal, okay? And right now, I think we're wearing these meat jackets. This is a test for us, okay? This world, this life is kind of like a spiritual test for us. Will we pass the test or not? It's up to us, okay? But we will one day ascend to another level. Beyond this physical level, we will find a immortality waiting for us. It's already assured to us. These guys, the vampires and all the other ones like them, the werewolves, they were seeking immortality, but they're cutting God out of the picture. They're refusing. They're turning their back on their Creator, who has already offered them, if they live the right kind of life and accepted Him with the right relationship, they would get that immortality one day. But they don't want that. They turn their back on God because they want the things that are not of God. They want the things of this world. They refuse God's immortality. Our Creator has made us to live forever. Don't you understand? Unfortunately, some of us make the wrong decisions, and where we will live forever may not be a good place if we're not careful, okay? We want to go to the good place and live forever, not a bad place and live forever. We don't want to go to punishment for that if we do the wrong things and reject God. That is what I was talking about the other night on one of my shows. All the sins that we can commit can be forgiven by a good and loving and just and forgiving, merciful God, except one. The one sin that cannot be forgiven. Blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. What is that? I've had people ask me that a lot of times. People worry about that. And if you are worried about it, you probably don't have anything to worry about, okay? The sin of blasphemy of the Holy Spirit is very simple. It's turning your back on God. It's refusing God, turning your back on Him, walking away out of His grace. God will never turn His back on you, my friend, and walk away from you. But we do that when we seek immortality in all the wrong places. We cut out God. What we're saying is, God, I don't need you. I don't want you. I don't want anything you got. I'm going to go my own way. Doesn't that sound like a narcissist? Okay, I mean, that's what
That's
vampires
what.
are. They're supreme narcissists. Yeah, they want to do it their way, and everybody else, every other way is wrong, but the way they want to do it is right. How very wrong they are. Boy, have they really screwed up, because they have committed the one sin that cannot be forgiven. You know why you can't be forgiven? Because you don't believe you've committed a sin. You will never ask forgiveness. You're swallowed up. You
Yeah.
become the darkness.
Interesting question here, Dennis. From Defying All Rules, can you be born a vampire or must you be changed? From my understanding, you're born into the vampire bloodlines. So I would imagine that must already be part of your DNA, because these things are so entrenched into the bloodline's DNA. But I'd like to hear your opinion on that.
Well, I've had a lot of people ask me that, Shanty. They're worried about these bad bloodlines. We call that bad blood, okay? They come up to me and say, "Oh, Dennis, I think our family's got bad blood. I think I don't know if I got vampires back there, werewolves. We got curse on us here. I got bad blood in my background. What can I do?" I'm going to say, well, listen now, okay? It's not a whole lot you can do about that, okay? There's not a whole lot. There is one thing, though, okay? You can recognize the darkness, but you don't have to embrace it. You can fight it. If you embrace it, then you become that darkness. You give up. You surrender to it. Don't ever do that. No matter how bad your blood is, don't ever surrender to the darkness. I have seen people born in some of the worst families you could think, the biggest bunch of thieves and rednecks and trash that you could think of. And yet those people come out of that family and become doctors and lawyers and respectable people. Why? Because they didn't embrace that lifestyle. They did what was right. You can always do what's right, or you can do what's wrong, and that's up to you, no matter what kind of blood's flowing in your veins.
Yeah, that's true. We always have a choice. We most definitely have a choice. But what we've also learned from these elites, deletes, is that then they are experts at creating exactly what they want. They will force trauma and torture onto whatever child is coming in or intending to come in, even on the spirits, the souls of these kids before they come in. They know where these souls are going and they know who these kids are. And already as the mother is impregnated, very often they already know who that's going to be. That child has been targeted in the spirit world already. So they would then obviously, yeah.
Right now, Shanty, right now, Mr. Putin, President Putin, is stealing Ukrainian children. And they're taking them to Russia and telling them, you're no longer Ukrainians. You are Russians. You will learn to speak Russians. You will be Russians. You will fight for Russia. He's doing this. He's stealing thousands of them. Nobody's talking about this, but he's stealing thousands of children. And that's exactly what these guys are doing when they will tell their children. They're indoctrinating them, okay, in these cults and these covens. They're telling these children, you're born and bred for this. This is what you will be. Or you were bought to be this. You were bought to be. They're indoctrinating them into this, to believe this. This is the most evil, despicable part of all this. They're doing this to the minds of children on a daily basis.
They literally change the DNA, because when you're looking at these bloodlines that are so trauma based, what they're doing is, over time, with so much trauma going on in that familial bloodline, it wipes out empathy. It wipes out compassion. So because there's been so much cruelty, yeah, so that's why we will
often
see these children
they already know. Look,
and
they already know they already know they've got fertile ground with the children. Okay, and that's why they plant the seeds in it, so they can get them to come up the way they want them to be. But that's what this blood does, and that's why I say the people come to me with these bloodlines say, "What can I do about it?" I say, for one thing, you don't embrace it, you don't accept it, fight it with everything you got. I don't care if you've got the tendencies for it. You're prone to these things. You've got to fight it. And since you've got this bad blood, you're going to have to double down on it. Okay? You're going to have to be more determined to fight against it, or you will let it take you over. Okay? But if you fight against it, you can win. That's the good thing about it. If you don't accept it, you can win. You know, I have seen people, listen to this, Shanty. I've seen people say, they told me the other day I got cancer. I'm not going to accept it. Their belief was strong enough that they just didn't want to believe that. And, you know, sometimes that helps people. Sometimes that helps them if they don't accept it and give in to the disease and fight it with everything they got. They're better off than people who do. Okay, that's just the way this goes, and it's the same thing with the bad blood. Okay, it's got to be. It might be in your DNA, but you still can fight it. You can still win against it if you are determined to do so. But these people, these taking their children and indoctrinating their minds into this, and these children go up believing, I got no other choice to be this. But they do. They still have a choice. You always got a choice. I don't care what your DNA is or what your bloodline is, if it's O negative or what it is. You still got a choice, and your creator is going to hold you to that. You still have a choice. You don't have to accept your fate. You can change it.
I agree with you there. We have free will and choice. However, it's very difficult to tell a 3-year-old in an abusive situation that they have free will and choice. Okay, but so I think it's what we need to understand just from a psychological healing
Absolutely.
perspective.
Yeah. You know,
when,
I've had
when a child has been that.
I have had several instances in my career where I've had to do what are called soul rescues. These we think would be, you know, wandering spirits that are lost or whatever that need to be rescued. They need to be told you need to go on. There's someplace else you can go. You don't have to be stuck here anymore. This is called a soul rescue. But did you know you can perform soul rescues on living people? You can go into these children and you can straighten them out. It takes a lot of time. You've got to spend a lot of time, but you are rescuing souls. We need more soul rescuers on the job to go after some of these children who have been indoctrinated like this and tell them you have been lied to. You have a choice. You don't have to accept your fate. Their souls need to be rescued, you know, and their lives as well. Definitely go with that. They can be rescued if somebody would go in and actually try to do that, you know, and that needs to be done. A lot of instances, these people, and here's another thing, we can even move past vampirism and witchcraft and all this satanic stuff and say that some children are indoctrinated by their families to keep the lifestyle that the family does, and it may be a destructive lifestyle. They need to be soul rescued too. They need to be taken out of places like that are detrimental, where they're being abused, sexually abused, mentally abused. And I'm going to tell you something. You can use somebody's body, but it's a whole nother different level when you do that to their mind and their spirit. You know? The body may get over the abuse. The spirit and the soul never does. It leaves a scar that will always be there. And it needs to be dealt with that way. And these people need that kind of help. to move past this thing. They need that kind of healing that will heal not just their bodies, but their minds and souls as well.
The body is such an intelligent vehicle that trauma is most definitely stored within the cells of the body as well. It's actually amazing when we start seeing how that actually works. So absolutely, I think there's actually more trauma on an emotional level and a mental level. And that's what a lot of people, unfortunately, have got bottled up inside of them, because you can't be doing stuff like that to others when you are feeling in alignment with God and happy and content. Absolutely not. So people who do those things to others are so tormented themselves. And I'm not saying that's an excuse. Obviously, when a child is traumatized and tortured, it's not their fault, unfortunately. But, and that's what the whole thing is when we see so often with these hierarchy kids that go on to have these high positions in the system. They do the 12-year-old rituals. And the ritual for the boys is literally, that's the first time they willingly take someone else's life, another kid's life, and they cannibalize that kid. That is the 12-year-old ritual, and that is literally where they step into manhood. Because once you're after the age of 12, you now become responsible for your own actions, and that's their first independent act of blasphemy. Before that, it's forced upon them. They do terrible things. I mean, you often hear about these kids that literally have to unalive other kids. That's common knowledge, especially when you're looking at the child hunts and stuff like that. So, the point, yeah.
We used to call cannibalism the last greatest insult. A person can do what he does to you, everything he wants to do to you, sexually abuse you, rape you, beat you, torture you, indoctrinate you, do absolutely everything he wants, and then eat you. That's the ultimate insult. I mean, that's the last thing he can do to you is eat you, unalive you and eat you. Hannibal Lecter was good at that. Never go to dinner with him, man. Never. But anyway, the whole thing is that is the final insult. Jeffrey Dahmer knew that, and John Wayne Gacy knew that. You can do these things to people as much as you want to, but that is the ultimate thing, to eat them finally in the end. That sort of is the cherry on their top of their ice cream kind of thing. That's the way they look at it. I know that's a horrible way to put it, but that's the way they are. That's the way they look. And this, my friends, is amongst the most darkest of evil that there is that you can do to somebody. I mean, come on, that's it. And that's why cannibalism is looked so much down upon. You're just not a nice guy when you eat people. There's just no way you can get around that, okay? And that's why the giants were hated so much. They love to eat people. And that's just not good. And that's why humanity has always said this is wrong. You just don't do that. You don't do that. You don't eat your neighbors, okay? That's not good. That's not a good thing, as Martha Stewart would say. That's not a good thing. But anyway, that's don't go to dinner with a cannibal. There you go. Never do that. And when they invite you to dinner, you just might be the dinner, okay? But definitely, that is the ultimate insult, And that's what happens to some of these poor little children, though, seriously. And that's their fate in the end. When they've done everything kind of abuse they can do to them, when they've used them every way they can use them, that is the final insult, the final thing that they will do. And that's horrible to think about. There's just stuff like this really goes on out there, When I first got to studying about this many years ago, when I first got deep into research, I even talked to some who were victims of this stuff. That's what really got me. I said, God, I thought things were dark until I found this out. And it got much darker after that, definitely. And when it disturbs you on a level that you've never been disturbed on before, put it that way. And it opens your eyes, unfortunately, to some things you not really happen knowing about, but we need to know. We need to know that these things go on, and we need to actively push back and fight against these things, however it may be, because it and these parasites like these vampires, they're living off of us. That's not good. I hate parasites. I don't know about you, but ticks and leeches, they're just not my bag. I don't care for them. They're parasites. Yeah, and they're feeding off of you. And not only are they, here's the bad thing, they're not only feeding on your blood and energy, but on the very vibration of your soul. That's what they're feeding off
exactly.
of many times.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Well, there's 3 things that I kill, and that is mosquitoes, ticks, and fleas.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the only things I kill. Everything else gets a free pass. I mean, when I have ants in my house, they get swept up and thrown outside. I mean, I'm sure there were a bunch of casualties there too, but I warn them. I say, come guys, you got to get out now. 10 minutes, I'm coming to sweep you. And then if they're still there, then I sweep them. But and those are all like vampirish creatures. They suck your blood. I mean, I'm sorry, anything that tries to suck my blood and get away with it cannot be trusted. So no, they don't get a free pass from me. But it's interesting, Dennis, what you're saying. Wow, it is. We understand the whole, the levels of vampirism. It's not just about a monster growing long teeth at certain times of the month and sucking blood out of your neck. It is done in a very contrived way, very narcissistic way, a lot of, I'm going to say, gaslighting involved, stuff like that as well, manipulation, control, all of these things,
I think.
So, yeah.
I think. I think one thing we need to realize here, Shanti, the rise of the vampire is real. He is coming out more now than he's ever been before. He's coming out of the shadows in many ways. He's, coming out in our pop music. He's coming out in our movies. He's coming out in our books, our even schools and stuff. He's coming out in a bigger way than ever before. He's not even bothering to hide himself anymore. And that's when he gets very dangerous, when they don't feel like they have to hide anymore. And that's what disturbs me, the rise of the vampire. They walk among us, and they are definitely out there, and they are still feeding off of us. They are still using us, and they will do so more in the future because their numbers and ranks are growing every day or not.
Well, not for long. People like that or creatures like that tend to take themselves out. I have lots of faith over fear. There's no ways. I mean, and someone was saying actually earlier on, how do you know if there's a vampire? I'm not sure how I would recognize a vampire, but I've come across a couple of witch doctors in Africa, and they have the energy with.
Uh-oh, we lost you there, Shanti.
Back.
I'll tell you how you can recognize vampires. Okay, there you are. Okay. The vampire, if you are in the presence of a vampire, I think most of the time you will know, if you're a very astute person and you have, you're kind of in touch with your frequency level, you're in touch with your soul in a certain way, you're vibrating on that higher level, you're going to feel a lower vibration there, definitely in your presence. You're going to feel it, but you need to pay attention to it. A lot of times we don't pay attention to it. But if you're in the presence of a vampire, you will notice that there is an unemotional coldness to these people. There is a that the very narcissistic quality we talked about earlier. And they can't hide that. It's hard for them to hide that kind of stuff in many ways. Although they can make you see themselves differently, they can't hide some of that, okay? Because it always comes out. And I have said this so many times before about any kind of evil entity, whatever it may be. Eventually, sooner or later, it overplays its hand. It shows you that darkness inside of things and people cannot be hidden for long. It comes out in different ways. The vampire is very much a victim of that as well, because he can't keep that darkness in check as long as you think he can. And it eventually shows up in the way that they treat people, the way they do people, the unemotional attacks that they make against people, stuff like that. This is the vampire's trademark. And I'm gonna tell you one other thing about vampires, not just the body odor and the bad breath they supposedly have and all these other things. It's the look in the eyes of the vampire that gives him away. It is like looking into the eyes of a shark. It is cold and unemotional without any humanity at all in those eyes, my friends. If you see a pair of eyes like that looking at you, you better be on guard 110% because you are in the presence of extreme evil.
Okay, well, we won't be doing that in a hurry. we will stay out of the presence of evil, for sure. Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate you joining us this evening. I'm going to just pop up your banner again, just so that if anyone wants to get hold of you, maybe in the meantime, you can just tell us where people can, anything you're doing the rest of the week, Dennis, where can people see you? Where can they catch you? What are you doing?
Well, I did a fantastic show last Monday with my good friend Jessica Jones. If anybody missed that, then need to catch it. And it was about Jurassic Parks. Are there Jurassic Parks in the world? Definitely was a great show. Go check it out. Also did a great show with my friend Heidi Pop Tuesday night. And if you missed that, you need to check it out. We talked about all the cryptids in Poland and Wales. It was very interesting. Last night on Hunting the Shadows, if you missed that, it was a fantastic show. I talked about the mark of the beast, the beginning of the end. It's already here, folks. Absolutely. So go check out Hunting the Shadows last night. That was at 9 o'clock p.m. It's all of this is actually on Hunting the Shadows YouTube podcast channel in my archives, okay? And this show today will be there shortly, okay? So go check it out. And tomorrow night on Paranormal Point of View, Friday night at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be doing a remote interview with a conference in Florida, the Full Disclosure Conference, with my good friend Maureen and her dog Gus will be there. So we will hook up with that Friday night, hopefully, if everything goes well. So I'm going to sort of like having a little bit of a news brief here for everybody. Okay, so we're going to be dabbling in the news business a little bit. So that should be fun as well. And yes, you can check out my books and all that other stuff. And if you need to contact me, if you got a vampire in your neighborhood and you want to talk about it, you can contact me at denniswcarroll.com.
Thank you, Dennis. And there we have all your information scrolling across the screen. Okay, everybody. Dennis, do you want to maybe close up for us in prayer?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Never know.
Do you want to close for us in prayer, Dennis?
Yeah, it's kind of
Yummy.
kind of getting a little jerky here. I don't know. StreamYard's been kind of funky here lately.
Okay. All right, guys. I think Dennis and I seem to have a few common comms issues. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will see you tomorrow back with on Rumble and X, and then we will catch you for the reruns on the weekend. Take good care. God bless you all. And I'll see you soon.